In this week's episode of Working with Work, I want to talk to you about priorities and focus. Hello and welcome to episode 52 of my Working with Work series. My name is Carl Pauline, and in this week's episode I want to talk to you about the importance of priorities and focus. Now, one of the biggest problems I find with people using to-do lists is they dump everything into their digital to-do list, and then sometimes they sort them out into projects, sometimes they even add labels, and sometimes they add dates. In fact, actually quite often the time they just add lots of dates without actually thinking carefully about what it is they actually want to accomplish. Now, one of the things that I have found over the last few years is that when you actually spend some time working out where you want to put your focus and where your priorities are, you start to get a lot more of the important things done. Now, the world we live in today is full of distractions. Oh boy, do we know about this. This is newspaper articles, blog articles. There are tons and tons of stuff written, videoed, podcasted about this problem. We are having so many inputs being thrown at us that it is very, very difficult to figure out what our priorities are and what we should be focusing on. And one of the things that I've been focused on over the last 2 or 3 years is focusing on what is important. So for me, for example, I have the goal of writing a book every single year from 2015 until the day I die. I am way up on that target because actually last year I actually published 2 books, but what I really wanted to do is, so every year when I sit down and figure out what is my plan for the year, one of the first things I write down is the book I'm going to write. I've obviously thought about the title, I've thought about what I want to write, but that's usually at the top of my list because it is a priority. It's a goal to write a book every year until the day I leave this world. But each year, of course, I have other priorities, things like how I want to develop my business, how I want to grow my community, how I want to help people each year. These are my priorities. And at the beginning of every year, actually even at the beginning of every quarter, I review my priorities to make sure they are still relevant, because things change all the time, and that's something that we have to be aware of. So because I am so focused on my priorities, which is why the title of this video is Priorities and Focus, I know that no matter what other stuff is thrown at me, it will always take second place to my overall annual priorities and focus. So for example, if I have a lecture to do for a client company next week and they've only given me 10 days notice, that's okay. I can spend the next 7-8 days working on developing that lecture because it doesn't actually affect my overall priorities or focus for the year. I can take a few days off and work on something else for a short period of time. But each week when I do my weekly review, I always come back to what my priorities and my focus for the year is. And this year for me is to grow my business, both my productivity business as well as my English communication business. And that is my main focus. Obviously, I have different tasks and different areas for that, which I review again every week to make sure that I am on course. So the weekly review is a key part of me remaining focused on my priorities. But one of the things, as I say, you've just got to be aware of is that sometimes urgent work is going to become important. And it's okay to take 5 days, 6 days, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, maybe even a month at a push to be able to focus on that. But the key point is that you return back to your annual focus. But when you are very, very focused on what your priorities are for the year, which is why it is so important to have them written down at the front of your journal. If you don't journal, have them written down in a note in your digital note taking application and have that note pinned somewhere where you can see it on a weekly basis. And I say weekly basis simply because I know a lot of advice out there says review your goals every single day or every single morning. I've tried that in the past and I know that I've become immune to that list. It doesn't really have the same feeling. But when I review my goals list every week and when I review my priorities and focus for the year every week, that just helps to keep me on track. And I don't become immune to the power of that list. But it is important that you get your goals and your priorities for the year, even for the next 5 years, written down somewhere so that you can review it periodically. I find once a week is enough. Some people may think, no, once a month is enough. But the key is if you're not writing down your priorities, if you're not writing down where you want to focus your attention this year, then you're going to focus on nothing. And what's going to end up happening is you're going to get lots of stuff done, but you're going to get a lot of unimportant stuff done. And that's why I strongly recommend that you get them written down. Every year I produce my annual planner where you can start deciding what you want to focus on the following year, what your goals are, what do you want to achieve. And it's really important that you'd get this. This isn't just some like quick fix self-help guru sort of stuff. This is tested time and time and time again. Look at any successful person you know, and I can guarantee somewhere they have their goals, their priorities, and what they want to focus on written down. Now, it can be digital, it could be on pen and paper, but they always have it written down. And if you think you can go through your life without knowing what you want to focus on, what your priorities are, and what you want to achieve over the next few years and achieve it, you're in cloud cuckoo land. You really do need to get that focus because, as I say, the world we live in today is what I suppose we can call a disruption world. We get disruption after disruption after disruption after disruption, and that can take you off in all sorts of weird places. And yeah, that can be exciting, and for a few days that could be very good. But if you really want to achieve the things that you want to achieve, if you want to move along the road towards getting to that purpose in life, then you need to have your goals, your priorities written down, and you need to review them on a regular basis. This is one of the reasons why, and if you haven't seen it already, I did a Golden 10 video on my Todoist video recently. I'll put a link in the show notes below because the Golden 10, which is 10 minutes at the end of every day, will help you to focus in on the important things each day. And I keep saying just 2 objectives each day, preferably goal related, but they don't have to be, that's going to keep you focused on what's important in your life, because that's what's important. You are in control of your life. There's no point in blaming other people because they don't care. What they care about is what's happening to them, and what you should care about is what's happening to you. And to do that, you need to stay focused on what's important to you and to make sure that your priorities are front and center of every single day. And it really, really does work if you get yourself organized in that way. Anyway, hopefully you found this episode useful. I have been going on about this with a lot of my clients this week because a lot of them are really already into the second quarter of the year and they've completely lost focus on what they set themselves up to achieve this year. And I really think now is a great time. The end of the first quarter, the beginning of the second quarter of the year is a great time to get yourself back on focus, back onto your priorities so that you continue to move a step closer towards achieving your goals for this year. Thank you very much for watching this episode. If you liked this video, please click on the like button below. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, please subscribe. It just remains for me now to wish you all a very, very productive week.